What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Main Character Podcast, level 14. Today's music is brought to you by Heaven and Hell. Probably one of the most evil bands that's ever existed. Okay, I'll just go ahead and turn that down a little bit for right now. How we doing, everybody? What's up, chat? Oh, we're already busy out here. What's up, everybody? Let me bring this down a little bit. Rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio. There's a ton to say about that guy, about this band, about all this stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. How we doing, chat? I see we got Wendy, we got Dojo, we got Cage Fighter, Doctor Who, what's happening, my man? Whew, level 14. I feel like we're getting old over here. 14 weeks of this crap. Man, got all of our regulars in here. Good to see you guys. We also got Pepe Sylvia, Panorillagram. Welcome in, my friend. Let me go ahead and just let Dio artistically fade out. Well, guys, it's good to see ya. We're back again for yet another episode of the Main Character Podcast, made possible by the Cult of Con. That's you guys. I'm Con Man. Thank you for being here. I didn't plan anything for today other than to just talk about my greatest enemy, the devil you know. And so because I was thinking about the devil you know, that inspired me to talk about the song here. It was the inspiration for today's intro track, which will get copyrighted and make the podcast unmonetizable. But, you know, I kind of decided in the first place that it wasn't about making money. And as we've grown as a community, I've started to feel more and more emboldened to just be my real self. And to me, there's nothing more priceless than being true to yourself, even if it means you get banned. That's why Rumble exists. Heck, I'd probably do better on Rumble anyway, because the algorithm would be like, oh, a slightly conservative edgelord person. That's exactly the kind of thing we want on this platform. What's up, Janelle? Good to see ya. Welcome in. Actually, I lied when I said that I didn't have anything planned. I have something that you guys have probably seen before. You guys probably know what this is. But I saw this the other day, and it's from this channel that I want to talk about too. And this could be an AI channel, you know? A lot of the artwork is AI, I know. Okay, so I'm not trying to give, like, the wrong impression. I just appreciate good content, okay? One of the things I love more than anything is seizing control of things, right? So a long time ago, God made a promise that he would never flood the world again, destroying all of humanity and such. And the promise is symbolized by the rainbow. Well, in the modern age, we see a rainbow and we think a very different thing because that symbol has been taken. The same goes to other symbols like swastikas and other things. So whenever I see somebody who's doing something that is like reclaiming territory for the kingdom, whether it's intellectual property or actual dirt, I'm a fan of it. So this is a channel here called Bible Unleashed, and this is just a little presentation that they put together from, I think his name is Paul Harvey. It's like a 1965 radio broadcast. And I know that you guys have probably heard this before, but for those of you who haven't, I just want to give you guys a chance to check this out. So this is called If I Were the Devil, I believe. Yeah, If I Were the Devil.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed.
Preach,
and
man.
with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I could get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be.
Scary.
And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Wow. I want to say, like, truer words have never been spoken. And that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about today here. That was Paul Harvey on a 1965 radio broadcast, and that was provided to us by Bible Unleashed channel, which I wanted to just take a second to shout out to this channel. Not that we're like a huge channel or anything, but Bible Unleashed has some really cool videos in their recent stuff. And the one that I saw recently was, I think it was Guts. But James Bond, you know, like so basically they've created these fictional scenarios where characters from movies and TV shows have met Jesus and then have like a dialogue about it. And I just think it's the coolest thing. Like, obviously, I think they're mostly AI generated. Like, even the text seems like it's, you know, I'm not going to write it off. I'm just saying I appreciate what they're doing, that they're making culture be about Christ. Like, that we can take these characters and this intellectual property and all this stuff. You know, as Christians, we're often taught that we can't participate because, you know, being in the world, we can't be of the world. I knew a lot of kids growing up who were, like, more Christian than me, I guess. And their parents like wouldn't let them watch TV and stuff, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that we are basically kind of in turmoil in this culture, and this is what the world is right now. It's like we must be familiar. That's kind of the theme of what I'm talking about today. We've got to know our enemy. So when it comes to like pop culture and what the world is doing, we should know this stuff. It doesn't mean we should be participating in it, so to speak, but this is cool because this takes things that already exist as intellectual property, excuse me, and it makes them into like these reflecting characters that think about the things they've done, the things they've been through and stuff, and they relate that to the sacrifice of Christ and everything. Look at it. The moment Mr. Beast found Jesus, I think that somebody like him could definitely use Jesus. He's like a mega multi-billionaire. You know, part of the problem, you know, in this world is that we don't have leadership with the kind of power of somebody like Mr. Beast, who's truly, genuinely in the business of trying to make the world a better place. Like, I'm not here to lambast the guy as a criminal or anything, but my personal opinion is he could be doing a lot more with that massive amount of wealth and power, aside from just, like, giving away Lambos to his own friends, creating tax burdens, and so forth. Going back over here to chat, I just want to catch up with you guys really quick. Doctor Who said that JT has a clip of Bob Dylan saying he's still going to uphold his bargain with the king of this world and the unseen. That's spooky. But when you look at somebody like Bob Dylan, it makes sense, not necessarily that he's talented. I think there are a lot of talented people in different walks of life. But to have the kind of like industry success, you know what I mean? To have the kind of opportunities that you get, I mean, those kinds of things, there's a cost, equivalent exchange or something like that. I noticed that Pineal Wasteland came in. What's happening, my friend? Hey, we got a new one in here. AI for Christ. Yeah, I think that it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. Be careful where you tread on anything. Like, AI is a new experimental and crazy thing. There's a lot of potential for bad things to be going on. Like, you could lose your soul. Hell if I know. But I think that when people are using the tools to create artwork, dialogue, instrumentation, whatever, and it's being done for the right message, I think it's fine. If anything, it's like, if you can't beat them, join them, so to speak. I think this is an example of like what I was talking about, like being in the world but not of the world. We have to be able to communicate on the levels of these people in order to be able to overcome the things that they're building in the world. I think that maybe this is just me, but like as a Christian person, I see it as more than just like a religion. It's like a way of life. I'm like allegiant to the king. And as someone who's like allegiant to the king, it like bothers me. I get mad that the world is so like destitute and screwed up. And I get this kind of, I don't know, overwhelming urge to do something. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe I have a lot of pent up energy that needs to get, sent somewhere. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up this Bible Unleashed channel today and show you guys. And if you want to take the chance to go over here and look at some of these videos, because I don't know about all of them. The moment an autistic person found Jesus, the moment a schizophrenic found Jesus. Like, I think these could be interesting, but I did really appreciate seeing characters from like anime shows and like, look, we got Yellow Brick Road. We got, there's like a Jesus standing there. It's just cool. I just kind of feel like to me, it's kind of like, it's like we're trolling back, Christ is such an incredible character. He's the most famous person who's ever lived. That's what, even Trump said that Jesus Christ is the most famous man in history. And so I really appreciate the guy. And with that being said, since we do know Christ pretty well and there's no end to our pursuit of wanting to know Christ, I also want to consider the battle that we're in as people. I just kind of wanted to take some time this evening to talk about the devil, so to speak. And I'm not trying to say, like, let's sit here and glorify Satan. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm just saying that I think that we as Christians, as believers and church people, we tend to spend too much time focusing on, churchy type stuff, churchianity, so to speak. And the devil is a concept that the church doesn't often want to talk about. I'm one of those people that thinks that we should be able to talk about all of this stuff, even things that are considered, taboo or edgy or inappropriate or what have you. Part of the reason why people hate the church in the modern age is because the church is so, they gatekeep information, or they don't have necessarily answers available for certain questions, and so you're not encouraged to ask certain questions. I can't remember how I put it. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was telling me about scientism. She had discovered this, not discovered it, but she'd heard someone use the term scientism. And, like the pseudo-religion of science. And I talked about it with her, and we were talking, and I just said that, science of the modern, science of today is mostly a religion. It's like we have priests in white lab coats, and their doctrines are you can't question what they say is the official narrative, as evidenced by, like, YouTube terms and conditions even. Community guidelines say if you question official narratives, then you get punished, right? We experienced that in episode 11. So we understand that they're like very restrictive about what you're allowed to talk about, and that is very religious in the way that it's done. But as I was saying to my mom, it's not just like a church that you find yourself excommunicated from. This is the official religion of the state. It's like I forget his name all of a sudden. Our guy who was talking earlier about if I were the devil. I think that's a really good way for us to look at our society today, to imagine if there were, these factions at war with each other, and let's say there was, things that needed to play out. And in this experience, we have things happening, such as, the degeneration of society on a essentially a planned rate. I think a lot of people are feeling that lately. Oh, I'm hearing some weird noise. A lot of people are hearing. A lot of people are experiencing like the economic downturn lately, or the social unrest that started to manifest in various circles in the culture. And so what's happening is people are feeling the effects, but I think a lot of people are ill-informed when it comes to understanding the cause of these effects. I think most of you guys can relate in the sense that you guys understand that it's not an accident that people this evil are running our world, right? I was a younger man, let's say, back in 2016. And I had, up until that point in my life, been rather apolitical. Like, I've been a conservative kind of person in my worldview, but I've never really voted. And then come 2016, I was activated into politics by this whole Trump campaign and everything. And I think it's because, like anybody else, I saw somebody who seemed to have the power necessary to make a change vying for change, right? If I tell you, I wish the world was a better place, you guys, I'm sure you'll believe in the message, but how far is that going to get me, And how far is that going to get anybody, right? Because if you're not somebody of repute with billions of dollars at your disposal, what kind of a campaign are you going to mount to change the world? I think that's where the draw of somebody like Trump comes from, because you need power to make a change in the world, and we get so used to power coming from the world materially and through men, and that's the world system. So a guy shows up and says, I'll do it, I'll give up my beautiful life. Frankly, my life was perfect, but I'll give it up because I want to see America made it. That is inspirational. I think it was Miles Monroe who said, leadership is your ability to influence others inspired by your passion for something great or for something that you believe in, towards your vision, right? So I'm someone who's really passionate, but I'm kind of misguided. I don't have like a singular thing I'm trying to do. But Trump was someone who was like accomplished and rich and successful. So here he is like, what's his next mission? And then he's like, I'm running for president. And now there's like something to dump all that energy and power and devotion and motivation into. And people saw that. They were like, wow, look, he's leaving behind his perfect life. He's becoming this politician that he's never been before. He's pushing himself into this new sphere. And that was inspirational to people. Not to mention what he was saying was stuff like, we're going to change the world. We're going to make America great again. He's like, we're going to build the wall. Mexico will pay for it. Stuff like that really got the working class. Because I don't make a lot of money. I probably make poverty level wages, despite living in the state with the highest minimum wage in the country, I think. What I mean to say is that people are struggling out here, and I'm not the best or the worst example. I'm kind of somewhere in the low middle, or maybe the upper low. But when you see your paycheck is hundreds of dollars, or for some of you thousands of dollars less than it should be because of how much you pay in taxes, it's jarring and frustrating. Especially when you see our tax money getting abused on like welfare programs and bombs for other countries. And you know what I mean, right? And I just thought, let's see, maybe Trump will go in there and fix it. And I always look back at like Barack Obama's terms, He ruled with an iron fist, he did whatever he wanted. He was like the king of executive orders. He wrote like hundreds of executive orders right when he got into office. And Congress could do jack shit about it, Nobody could stop Obama, whether it was like his professional attitude or what it was he did. His rules happened to us, Obamacare was like a giant packet, and everyone's like, nobody read it, and it just rammed through anyway, Like, that's the kind of stuff we're used to. So I saw this as, if Trump can get a hold of the levers of power, he can take control, and he'll just use that same kind of just pull the lever and get us what we want, right? That's what we thought. I, like many others, bought into the world's definition of like a messianic situation. It was like, we need a man to come and save us. And like, maybe we do, but not this guy. And I'm not trying to be all political with you guys. I'm talking about the devil here. So what I'm getting at is that this is a very familiar thing that only in hindsight did I learn. The silver tongue is not a trait of a righteous man. And I never really considered that, like speechcraft is just a skill you're trying to max out, right? Because great speechcraft can convince people of great things, and in a way it could be a good thing. Like anything is just a tool in this realm ultimately. But you'll notice that these politicians and people who come out and make promises it's a different kind of person that can convince you of something that they have no intention of doing. It's very devilish, satanic in a way. I'm not here to tell you that like Trump's the Antichrist. You decide that for yourself. I'm just saying I was disappointed, right? Because we keep getting led to believe that the system works a certain way, but then you find out the hard way that it doesn't. It's just like our diatribe here. At the very beginning of it all, we have a system that doesn't operate in the way it's listed as on paper, right? It doesn't function the way that it's described. And that should make people question. But right off the bat, questions are not encouraged. You become somebody who's like a weird conspiracy theorist, like this group of people who show up and watch this weird show on Wednesday night. Like, I'm not really sure where we all fit into the big picture. I was talking to Wendy earlier about it. Like, what's our place in this whole big thing? I don't know. But I do know that on an everyday basis, we're doing battle with forces of evil. Christ says the archons and the principalities and rulers in high places, not just the flesh and blood. And that means something. I think it gets overlooked a lot. I think my chat's frozen. Sorry. I'm going to have to try and figure out why it's frozen. Yeah, see, look, I got like nobody's chats for the next few minutes here. Sorry. No one can give up things like I can give up things. I'm the best at giving up things. Look up Elon's mom. The nut doesn't fall far from the tree. We could do that. Why don't we look up Elon's mom? What does that look like? Elon's mom. I actually have heard a little bit about this lady. This person. Sorry, I'm so mean. Well, the whole family of Musk is very strange. And I'm glad that you brought up Musk, because Musk is now brushing shoulders with Trump on a regular basis, which is very often, it's just funny to me, right? Because I call him like B-grade Tony Stark. It was like we were supposed to get Iron Man, and instead we got this guy like who buys Twitter. And, I know that the big thing is like everybody's like, well, Elon saved free speech. Like, that's such crap, dude. Like, why am I banned from Twitter? I didn't even do anything. I'm on the super do not let them list. You know why? I'm not special. But if you say things that are like resonant things, like the kind of things that I say in one sentence when I type it out, like if you guys were able to follow me on a daily basis and see the things I say out loud about everything I react to, you guys would probably laugh and agree with me, and even more so, the rest of the world would too. I think that they have a vested interest in making sure that people who have like the real thing to say don't get to say it. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. It's like a good example would be like what we're talking about with Trump. Trump comes out and says, we got to do this. Our Second Amendment's under attack. Our border's under attack. He acknowledges that the Second Amendment's under attack. But like, why didn't he just use executive order to disband the ATF on day one? I ask conservatives this question and they don't have an answer. Because it was created that way. You could just turn it off. Everybody who works there, sorry, you're out of business. You're going to have to go find a different job, apply somewhere else. What'd you do for the last 10 years? I worked for the ATF. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not going to hire you. You're a freaking spook. It's just, I'm learning as I get older to see the pattern here between like the way that they try and pass off these characters as though they're actually, have a vested interest in us and what we're going through and our experience in life. I'm not in the worst hellhole like California, but in the state of Washington, they have like weird magazine capacity limitations and stuff. And it's all just so weird because obviously that has nothing to do with the sacred right enshrined in the Constitution. I know this stuff doesn't really matter to people who don't live in the United States because the Constitution only applies to people in the United States, and it doesn't even really apply to people here either. But I don't know. It's like, you can't live your life subscribing to this stuff and expect to have like a healthy outcome in your future. You're going to be disappointed. Because even real Trump supporters could probably not point to too many things that because like Trump was president for a couple years and he did some things that made certain prices like things were materially a little bit better for a while, but then it went away again. And I know that the feeling is like, well, if we can get him back, we can get him back. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like it didn't really change our circumstance, you know. We never really found ourselves with any more freedom of speech or any more, ability to connect with the people who see the world the way we do. I feel like it's only gotten harder. Back in the day, you used to be able to like go on Facebook and find like a random group and meet random people who are like conservatives or whatever in your area. And it's like, it's gotten harder than ever to be able to network with people or even communicate. You guys ever have that experience where you go and like try to leave a comment on something that might be, the video might be a little bit edgy, the comment might be a little bit edgy, and you try to reply and your comment just doesn't post? Because that's just my experience. When I go on to these comment sections, I'll type a little comment, it just deletes. I've gotten into the habit of copying my comment before I post it so that when it posts and just deletes, then I'll post it again and sometimes it'll reappear there, if you post it a second time. Dojo says, I saw yesterday that we've been under a wartime standard flag since the very beginning. Standard, also known as flag. There's an actual white USA flag for peacetime. Wendy says, they build everyone up just to tear them down. Energy vampires. I 100% agree with what you're saying about energy vampires, because I remember the 2020 election and how that ruined my feelings. Like, I was so vested in like, oh, please, we can't let Joe Biden win. He's such an idiot. And then, of course, he just, whatever you want to call the circumstance, he just gets more votes than Obama. Like, oh, yeah, everybody loves Joe Biden. We love it more than Barry, apparently. But that was really hard on me, and I think a lot of other people too. Because it was like watching a train wreck and you could do nothing about it. You knew that it was happening. It was so real right before your eyes, but you couldn't do anything. Wendy said she stopped leaving comments because of that. Oh, yeah, the deleting effect where it just erases your comments. Yeah. But I should stop leaving comments, but it makes me like, I don't know. My nature is that I'm mad about it. I want to do something. It's not good enough, It's not good enough to just not participate. Well, they delete my comments, so I'm not going to waste energy on it. Like, I totally think that's reasonable, but it's not good enough. I think we need to be able to leave comments anyway. I have this plan. I've talked to you guys about it before, about like this website, this overlay that I want to make, but I don't know how to code anything. If I knew how to code, I'd just build it, but I'm literally dumb. And my first thought is that I'll make it and it'll be like barely running and someone will just hack it and destroy it because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, you guys know like a browser extension? Like, can you imagine if we were like, let's just give an example, just so you guys can see the vision. I mean, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but like, let's just say we're on YouTube right now. Like, let's go to a tab for it. Okay. See this, oh shit, I popped it out by mistake. Okay, well, that's weird. Let's just do this again. Elon's mom. There's just a tab called Elon's mom. That's the best. Okay, well, I was going to use the last example, but here's one. You see this Allstate advertisement right here? In no way can you respond to this. Like, you might be able to click on this. I don't know what happens if I do. It's probably just going to pop out. Yeah, I don't want to get insurance. But see, like, I'm not saying I have anything against this Allstate advertisement.
Know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the sign first before parking.
But like, let's just say that maybe we wanted to talk about this commercial right here. YouTube doesn't offer you the ability to do that, but why couldn't we have like some kind of overlay that we're logged into, right? Like a portal. I'm watching YouTube, but I'm watching YouTube through the other app so that like you can leave a comment on a YouTube or I can leave a comment about that thing. And I guarantee you that the way that the page HTML or whatever it is appears on this page, other people would land here, and whenever they got this ad, their browser extension would be able to tell it was this versus a different ad. There's like a code for what this video embed is versus another one. I'm not completely inept. But like, that's the thing, right? We have this problem where YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is. They control the dialogue. And so we can't really we can't actually get anything done in terms of making policy changes, or getting certain people elected, or whatever our missions are in the world as people and as civilization. We're basically suppressed by these algorithms that don't let us speak our mind or speak freely about what we want to speak about. And honestly, I know that it's crazy. I've seen some of the free speech stuff. Like, if you guys have ever been on Gab, that website Gab, I really tried to get on Gab because I thought, well, they literally let you just type the N-word and it doesn't do anything. but that's the problem, right? Everyone is so suppressed that when you get on a website like Gab or even Parler, I think was like that for a little while, where people try to make a different social media and it just becomes a hub of all these social rejects who got kicked off the platform. And I'm not against these people. It's just that it becomes this an echo chamber of hate. As liberal as that sounds, Parler has become an echo chamber of hate. the new social media website, it's like a cycle that can't be broken. Every time somebody tries to make a new social media site, they're competing against the one that everybody's already on, and the new one it sucks and it's dumb and it doesn't work as good and it's full of Nazis. And what I'm getting at is that people don't want to go there. I'm talking about, let's have a private conversation in their yard. I'm talking about, let's build something that lets us go to the platform where everybody's on and sitting there having a private conversation. Tee-hee-hee, you don't know what we're talking about, because that's what prohibition does, right? When the government decides you don't have the right to pursue your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, whatever, and then you say, no, I think I'm going to build an underground club underneath my house, and then people are going to come over and we're going to drink booze in there because the federal government sucks. and what I mean is that I think that we can build something like that. I know that this is rather off topic. I know I said I was going to know thy enemy. We're just talking about other things. But these are the ways that the enemy controls us, right? Because the truth, the Bible says, you'll know the truth and the truth will set you free. And so what have they done is have restricted our ability to communicate. There are so many things that I've learned over the last 10 years, I'm sure you guys are the same, through the hard work and research of other people that was never taught to me in public school or by the government. And in many ways, the government and the public institutions don't acknowledge some of this stuff to be true, even if it's publicly available. It's not even always a conspiracy theory. It could be like radium or something, right? Where they gave everybody a bunch of stuff, said it was fine, and then everybody got really sick. That's happened a lot in the history of this country, and other things they've done, sending particular races of people to die in particular horrible combat zones and stuff. It's no secret that over the course of the history of just this country, the short history of this country, that our government and the leaders, powers that be, have behaved completely wretchedly. And I think that kind of ties into what I was talking about at the very beginning, where I was saying that there's a level of evil that's not natural to humans. Paul and I talked about this when I was on Understanding Conspiracy last time. He talked a little bit about the idea that there are people who are so evil that they can't be people. You ever wonder if it's we actually talked about it last week when we were showing the frog lady and the load. I like to call it the Minotaur because to me I see it as some, I don't know, bovine beast. Dang, you guys are got so much to say. How's it going, Freya? I've had literal terrifying nightmares about Biden and Harris, ear-to-ear grins with too many teeth, hiding in my home trying to get my babies. Oh my God. That does sound really horrible. I was just upset because I didn't like their domestic and foreign policies. I wasn't worried about Biden eating my kids or whatever. That's rough. And they are totally evil, Pioneal Wasteland says, when are you doing a call-in show? Well, next week, right? I actually want to talk about this. We could do call-ins. We could do one maybe the last week of every month or something. I want to kind of try and figure out so then people know when it's happening. It'll be the last week of the month. Maybe we'll do the last stream of every month. Whichever date it falls on, we'll make that the call-in one. What I think we'll do is we will arrange to have the Discord If you guys don't want to use the Discord, shoot. I know that Discord's like, it works pretty good for the process, but I think then you have to like make a Discord account, and that sucks. I could just like, what do you guys think? I don't want to put a phone number out, because if I put it out for you guys, there will inevitably be people down the line who get it and start calling me for dumb reasons. Give my number over to something, and we start getting calls about how I didn't pay my traffic tickets or whatever. I've gotten it all in the past. I just don't want to go through that again. But I do want to hear what you guys have to say. I think a call-in show would be a really good idea. I know there were some people who wanted to share some testimonies and some like scary stories and like things they've gone through, and I would love to do that. Next week is Wednesday's the 30th, which is the day before Halloween, and actually, or is Halloween the 30th? I don't know. I'm celebrating, not the satanic holiday, but I am going to have a little dress up for the show, just because it's the season. It's an excuse to wear something funny, and I like to wear weird things. It's how I am. You guys probably know that already. But I'll be doing a little bit of it'll be a little different. You guys will see. I'm really excited actually for it. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to reveal anything, because otherwise it ruins the fun. Totally inappropriate costume, by the way. Completely inappropriate. You guys will find out. That'll be a little something to look forward to. But what I think we'll do then is, if we're planning on doing a call-in, since next week will be the last of the thing, what I will do is I will make a post on the YouTube page in the community section. So if you're at all interested, I will link the Cult of Con community Discord, which is very small, but there's always room to grow. So we'd be happy to have you guys there. And then that is a place where we can like just talk about this kind of stuff, personal one-on-one. And it's small enough that if you even just want to talk to me about whatever's going on, how's your day, whatever, I'd be happy to hang out with you guys for a little bit, at least if I have time. And that'll be cool, because then you can literally just voice chat, and you can pop in, and we can have talks, and that allows me to have some kind of control. Like you can mute people or adjust their volume, and you could ban people that suck. Not to say any of you guys do, but you know how that is. Like as soon as you start putting yourself out on the internet, a bunch of weirdos show up and try to ruin your life. I'm actually amazed that I've made it this far without making anybody mad, but I think I've also gotten really good at tiptoeing over the last decade. You also like to wear nothing. Don't judge me. It was like 105 degrees in here. It was maybe worse than that. Look, this red beard and pale skin, it's not because I'm a Nephilim. It's because I'm from the northern European continent. My genetic code tells me that it's supposed to be like 45 degrees, and I'm okay with that. And it was like over 100, so that's my excuse. One day we'll get us a hot tub stream going. We'll go. That's what I was joking about last time. I was saying, like, wait, I don't know if you guys know this, but like, you go on Twitch, I'm sure you know this, but like, there are people who like, they don't even stream video games or talk about anything important. They just like sit there. It's really weird, man. All of those people like do that internet thing. I'm not sure what you would call that. I guess it's prostitution. Freya wants Paul's link with Khan's interviews. You got that? Do I have that? I mean, I think Paul has it. I think that it's, is it? Yeah, like, yeah. If I could type, understanding conspiracy. Here we go. Let's see if it gives us the, I am, the last time that I'm on here, I think it's a live stream. And I am Truther. It's a Truther therapy session 67. Censorship Blues and the release of the Nephilim. Hey, we did pretty good on views too. I saw that we had some pretty good views, like 5,500 on here. That's wild. I mean, I know that Paul's got a pretty big channel. Like it's cool to imagine that I've had the not imagine, but to realize that I've had the opportunity to speak to such a large volume of people about whatever weird. What is this? Why can't I just like have a link? Is that embed? Dude, I've never experienced this before. Why isn't there just a, oh, you know what? I'm dumb. I'm on a PC. Well, not a PC, but a Mac. I'm sorry. I sometimes look at my live streams and think like, how can I be as young as I am and so technologically inept? Like I've been playing video games for 20 years and working on computers for various things, and I just sometimes just have no idea. But you know what I think it is? It's mindfulness. I was watching a video about it. I posted the video into the chat for you guys right now. I don't know why sometimes the live chat replays don't appear on the processed live streams. I'm not sure what that is. I'd probably just YouTube punitively punishing me for anyway. I didn't pull the link off of I was on a different page is what I'm getting at. You guys were on a different page than I was on. I was like looking at I just wasn't sure what it was going to look like for me to figure out that channel thing. But anyway, like I said, the link is in the chat there if you guys want to go find that and see my conversation with Paul. But we were just talking about, obviously that instance where my live stream got deleted because I said something. And I did back it up, by the way. If you guys have not seen the lost episode, level 11, or whatever. If you've not seen it, level 11 has been placed on the Cult of Con Patreon, and it is free to all members. You don't have to pay to become a Patreon member. We have a free tier, and as far as I know, I make everything available for free. There will come a point where there'll be some exclusive content. If you guys ever feel like financially supporting, you have a few tiers to do that. But obviously, I'm just glad to have you guys here, participating in the discussion and all that stuff. But yeah, with that being said, I did actually accomplish something, and I wanna apologize to Little Seasonist. I know he's a busy guy with kids and adult life and everything, but I told him I was gonna send him my old backdrop, and I just didn't get around to it. It took like weeks, maybe even months. And initially he was like, "Oh, I'll pay for the shipping," but I covered the cost of the shipping. It's no big deal, and I sent it out, and hopefully he'll get that in the next few days. But yeah. So that banner's heading out, and then I think that maybe what we'll do is we might in the future, I'll do a giveaway, and I'll give away this one. We'll do like a something so you guys can have it, because this is a really cool piece, not just as my background. I'm thinking about getting a green screen and stuff, and because we'll eventually upgrade. That's part of leveling up. You gain more stuff as you go along. So I'm hoping to upgrade, maybe remodel the room here a little bit so it's less like my own bedroom and a little bit more like an office. And then I'm thinking about doing a green screen so I can have some really nice backgrounds, and we'll look into that down the road. But one thing I'd like to do would be to raffle this off to you guys in some creative way. So be thinking about that. If you got any ideas, chat about how to do like a cool raffle or some way that it can maybe help the channel, like something we can do to help kind of maybe spread awareness. I've been thinking about doing some promotional activities to try and spread the channel a little bit, or at least to kind of manifest it into just a little bit more than what it is, because obviously right now you guys are kind of, this is it, right? This is just like a small little tight-knit kind of chat community, and I don't want that to get ruined at all. But I also want to go to the next level with this, I know it's a touchy subject, but, I was talking to Wendy about it earlier, and it's like, you got to be real with yourself, you know what I mean? No matter the cost. And I've kind of tiptoed around for many years because I kind of have PTSD from getting hit in the face by this guy. And it just kind of made me feel like, for many years, I felt like that it's far too easy to aggravate people to the point of violence, Like that people will despise you for the things that you believe. People who are so diametrically opposed, they hate you, I know that's true. And so I'm kind of a person whose beliefs are very strong and very counter to the narratives that we're taught and the way the world works. And I get upset because I don't see that in leadership. Like when I was talking about Donald Trump, I don't see Donald Trump screaming about how the ATF is illegal and those people need to be imprisoned and stuff. Or worse, they are traitors. But see, that's like, you don't see that. You don't see politicians who are willing to push the Overton window to the point of like, we should have dignity. Individual citizens of this country should have respect. And like when a criminal comes and like bashes your head and steals your car and then they just get released on their own recognizance or whatever. Like I always think of this story that comes to mind. I'm sure it's in my feeds. I could play it. But there was a guy, an illegal immigrant, running from the cops in a police chase. And he crashed into another person while running and killed the other guy. He broke his own leg or whatever, oh, boo-hoo. He was taken to prison or whatever. He was taken to jail. He got a court date, and then the judge, released him on his own recognizance with a court date in the future that, in 90 days, you come back and we're going to charge you for killing that guy. And the guy just left the country. And that is a government that you don't matter in that government. You know what I mean? It's like no respect, no concern for your health and safety. You were just driving your truck and a maniac just blasted into you, killed your friend, killed your dad, killed you. It doesn't matter who. The situation is bullshit, man. And so I get sick of not having representation. And so I've in recent years kind of started to push myself to just being real. And I know you lose friends this way. Not everybody wants to hang out with or listen to a guy who's got bad medicine or whatever. It's like Wendy was saying, like, it's medicine. There is a sickness in this country. There's a sickness in this world. The medicine is Christ in his way. That is true. But people also need some tough love. They need some cat o' nine tails. They need to have their wares scattered. They need to be chased out of the temple. And that mentality needs to be woken up in our culture. I need to see people who are willing to say, enough is enough. Anyway, and so that's kind of, I think, what I have been trying to do with the Cult of Con since the beginning was to create a platform where I can express the Overton window, that I can say, yes, Donald Trump says this, but like, what about this? Can I push the envelope farther? You know, and I know that that's confrontational. The last thing I ever wanted to do was to go to war with people, but I found out like I can't be fake friends with everybody. You can't pretend to get along with everybody when a lot of the things that people are saying and doing are destroying the world. Elizabeth is heading to bed. Take it easy, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here. If you get a chance, come back and check out the rest of the stream. And if not, we'll see you on Sunday for Sunday service. Enough is enough, Jay. You guys feel me though, right? Like I've always said, I don't want to be the guy, but if I have to be the guy, I'll be the guy. And so as I've been gaining more confidence in this stuff, I've started to think like, it doesn't mean we have to win. I think we just have to show people that we can fight, that it's okay to fight. It's okay to resist. You can be the guy that people say is too violent or too extreme. I compare myself sometimes to these like Navy SEALs who have like become godly men, or who have been godly men, but also dangerous operators. Every other word out of their mouth is profanity. These guys have literally killed people. There's like some seriously bad dudes, and they love God, and they're not evil. And I don't mean bad like good and evil. I mean like they're badass. And guys like that aren't gonna look at somebody like me who says, this is treason. Traitors should hang. Guys like that aren't gonna bat an eye at that. They're like, oh yeah, sounds good. What I want is to normalize a culture so that we can say like all the stuff that's existing in history and in fantasy should exist today, in the sense that we have spirits among the lore of it could be Warhammer 40K for all I care. The way people treat it, like for the Imperium, for the Emperor, no tolerance, you know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, why can't we create a model for people in the world of, like, that's kind of where I get the Christ supremacist thing. Like, where we were like, you can be the kind of person who goes to church and sips coffee and acts all nice all the time. You're not my enemy. I don't care. If you want to be nice, but there's got to be a place for fighters. For those of us who feel like we're strapped to the chair. Like, I'm in the straitjacket and I'm like, get me out of here. That's how I feel. And all of my life I've wanted to do something. And I don't mean like, an improvised explosive. I mean, I want to do something that helps show people that we don't, why did we accept all this? Why did we stop saying that stuff was gay? Because it hurts people's feelings, okay? I'm sorry. I'm done being nice. I've been nice for so long while everybody just tromped all over everything. I used to work at this weed store, and I had a coworker in there named Jonathan. And he was a really interesting character because he's like a black dude, and he was in the Marine Corps and served in the Marines, and then was a veteran, got out as a veteran. And when he was in the Marines, he was real right-wing, conservative. And something happened between the bad experience he had in the military and then his social grooming when he comes back to Portland area. He got like this girlfriend who was a liberal chick and like knocked her up, and he metamorphosized into this like Black Lives Matter type guy. And all this whole while that I was working with the dude, I was like, bro, he would tell the worst jokes, like terrible, like racist, anti-white stuff. And I'd be like, why do you, I mean, I'd never say anything to him about it, but I it's like, why do you think it's appropriate? And like, if that's the case, if no holds are barred, then understand, man. I'm gonna start saying terrible shit too. Like, I just don't. I'm not saying we should all treat each other bad. I'm not saying we should have any sort of violence or anything. It's just that, like, if people can't leave well enough alone, and well enough is like the 50s in America, like things were fine. And people are gonna argue with that. They're gonna be mad, but I don't fucking care. There's no such thing as perfect. You can't throw away good for the pursuit of perfection. I just mean that we tried all these experiments with policy and with culture and with the way that we live, and some things, very little things, we gained. We gained respect for each other. We gained equality in some ways. But in a lot of ways, things got way worse for the average person. Like, the only people who are winning are rich, oligarchy, politician, evil people. Celebrities, corporate leaders. It's just a fact. You guys know it. The average person, check this story out. Recollection Road, okay? I think we can even find it. Recollection Road. You guys ever seen this before? They have a Recollection Road subway, and I will share this with you guys for, man, it's so frustrating. How long does this go on for? It's too long for us to watch, honestly, but I will share it with you guys into the chat so you guys can check it out on your own time. Excuse me. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into it, but I can give you the synopsis, which is that in the 1950s, when this was a thing, what's going on, dude? I just dropped it out of the window. Okay. This is another one of those things we talk about how when we upgrade, we're going to be getting another monitor. Start streaming off the other computer and use 2 monitors so I can see what's going on. Dojo, I got a phone call. Crap. That's all right. You just put them on. Just send them to voicemail. This is more important.
Food franchise with the most locations.
Definitely, I encourage it. 'Cause I'm a guy. I'm eclectic. I like all kinds of things, and this is a channel I can get on. It's a history, an appreciation for American culture and things. And in this particular episode, they talk about the Subway franchise company. You guys know all about that. But some Subway back in the 50s when they first opened, they opened on like a $2,500 investment, which is a lot of money back then. But on the very first day of business, they made back the entire upstart cost and then some. So their grand opening paid for the cost to open a business. Imagine how much it would cost you to open a business today. Like $1 million, $2 million. And that would be a franchise where like the brand sells itself. Like if you open up a McDonald's somewhere where there's people, they just start coming in. You don't have to try to convince people to come to your weird restaurant that you created. It's like, it's McDonald's. So everyone just goes. It's a money-making machine. But even if what you were going to do was start something brand new, your new brand, your new company, whatever it is, if you're going to do that, it's going to cost you a ton of money. And then you got to like build your customer base. You got to like, you know, you got to expand. You got to pay all these fines and fees and regulations and all these inspectors and all these bozos have to get greased so that you can have a business. And like this was back in the 50s. They just paid off the business in one day. And then every subsequent day was like enough money to start another Subway franchise for many years. People wonder how corporations got to the size that they are today, and it's because it's an intricately designed system that in the old days gave them the ability to entrench themselves. And then they, of course, changed the policy. We're all getting 10-round magazines and $12 footlongs. The Subway sandwiches are supposed to be $5. You know what I mean? It's bullshit, man. I remember $5 footlongs. I'm not old. I'm not like a 60-year-old man. So, back in my day. It's not even that old either. You're like 90. Someone who's 60 remembers like Reagan and stuff. When people were like, oh, you go to work and you can have like a car and have a garage and put it in there. I can't speak for everybody, but my generation and like the kids younger than me, the 20s and the teenagers and such that are down there, they have it worse than even I did. I remember being able to pay for like, minimum wage was like $9. Not that long ago, but it was half what it is now. and I remember gas was like $2. So at about $10 an hour, you could get about 5 gallons of gas per hour at a job, like at a scut job, like carrying boxes. Like it's not anything fancy, no skill, but I could get 5 gallons per hour. Gas is now $4 or $5. It's just how it is. So you have to, in order to make 5 gallons per hour, you got to make minimum $20. No, that's wrong. 40? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Math is not my strong suit. Whatever. If you want to get 5 gallons of gas per hour at $4, you have to make $20 an hour. You have to make $20 an hour. That's a lot of money for like an entry-level job. Like, no wonder McDonald's has gotten so expensive. No wonder Subway footlongs are $13 because they got to pay some college kid $20 plus property or payroll tax, which is double. So it's like $40 an hour to have some goon in there slapping a sandwich together. It's not working, man. I thought about making t-shirts once. I'm not sure why I said that. T-shirts about what? I thought about making some t-shirts. I've actually made some t-shirts in the past, but like t-shirts only work if you've already got something happening, you know. Wendy's like, I would never eat at a Subway. You know what? I used to work there a few years ago, 10 years ago. I've had more jobs than anybody I know. I've worked everywhere. If you ever want to know what it's like to work somewhere, ask me because I worked everywhere. Anyway, Subway, Subway's not really good. The last time I can remember actually going and eating Subway, and this was many years after I stopped working there, I ate, I think it was the cheesesteak one? Oh, I got so sick off of that. You know, there's all these regulations they teach you in the videos about the cold wells and like how you have to keep stuff at a certain temp. And if it's out for too long, it instantly builds bacteria. Somebody exposed me to that and had me destroyed. Anyway, I just don't. The quality's gone down so far. And that's the thing. Like, how can it go down and cost more money, right? What's up, Ty? Good to see you. I didn't even know you were in here. Welcome in. You're the one talking about the $13 footlongs. Yeah. Crazy. But just the concept of being able to open a restaurant like Subway, a true Subway back in the day. And it was actually a good sandwich, and they were like $2 or something. They may have been less than that. And to be able to make back your whole income, it's just not the same system, right? Things are different than the way they used to be, and things have changed, and it's something we have to accept and acknowledge as fact. But it's also something that we can't just act like it just happens, you know what I mean? I got pretty like amped up there for a minute, guys. I was like yelling. I can imagine myself and I've been thinking about it, like how we talk about leveling up. If I do a green screen, I'd like to do a podium. What do you guys think about a podium? Like if I had I stand up while doing the video and I have where I rant from a podium, like a certain Austrian painter or something. I feel like that's the goal, is to kind of give that vibe, not the whatever world domination vibe. Well, maybe world domination's an okay vibe. Like, I'm okay with seeming like a villain or an edgelord. I just don't want to give people the impression that I'm like just blindly hateful. I'm very statistical in the way that I think. I just look at stuff mathematically. Like if I was trying to build something out of steel and I had like 4 or 5 different alloys of steel and I was testing the effect of the different types of steel to comprise the component I'm trying to make, and I'm like, well, this one has an exceptionally high fail rate in proportion to the others. I'm going to say that one is not the right choice for this, you know, and I'm just very statistical about it. I don't like that people get mad about that. Like math and science, it's very it's blunt. It's not necessarily very fun, but it just tells you what you need to know about your civilization. And if you look at the math on what's happening in America and around the United States, it's a shithole, and it's only getting worse. And what we could do to stop it is off the table. You're not allowed to talk about it, and that's where I kind of get my vigor from, because I want to do something. I want to say something. I think that there are dialogues that need to be had that aren't being had, even to the point where it's like, I want to go on Kick and yell enough, and then they was like, oh, I'm going to go on Andrew Tate's show. I want to go on Jordan Peterson's show. I want to go on Piers Morgan. I want to go on all these places where all the important people go to talk about stuff and just say, well, somebody tell me why they didn't say this. Every person in the world, every American, every normal citizen in the West is looking at our leaders and wondering, like, why they're like, how are they getting away with not doing shit? By that, I mean, like, they all come out and offer you nothing. Like, and no offense, but it's like, Trump's like, and don't forget, no taxes on tips. It's like, there shouldn't even be taxes on tips. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not giving me anything. I already deserve that. Tell me that you're going to give me something that's extra. All of my rights are a given. Like there should be a constitutional Congress going on. Like they need to be going from the federal government needs to be basically displacing the governors and state governments that are allowing unconstitutional shit to take place. And I know that like normal people in this country would be on board for that. Like why do we allow governors to come in and sign laws that say your rights? Nah. Oh, shall not be infringed. I'll infringe. Well, you know, a 10-day waiting period will help because I can't. Well, what if you want to do something? Where in the Second Amendment does it say the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed except for a 10-day waiting period because we need to make sure that people don't buy guns when they're mad and go do bad things? Like, what sort of arbitrary ascribing people a random thought process? What kind of imaginary bullshit? Anybody who thinks like that has no business in politics. Like, how have we become a country that's got people sitting in office getting paid salaries off of our taxpayer dollars, and they come up with these imaginary circumstances? We're like, well, you might think something, and so we have to make sure there's a material barrier between something I think you might think. These people are fucked. And I just feel like maybe we're not pushing hard enough. Like maybe we don't have enough people that are, because I get it, you know, guys who are like in right-wing circles and politicians, not even politicians, but like commentators, right? Like people doing what I do, but on a big level who get paid. They all of a sudden have something to lose, right? Well, I get 100,000 subs and I make 10 grand a month just running my mouth on the internet. And so I don't want to screw that up. People get complicit, and like I'm glad that I'm like small and that I don't really have any money, and like I don't even care. Like the job that I have is good and I like it, but if they fired me because they found out I was saying shit on the internet, I'd just find another job. I've had so many scut jobs. What's another one? You know what I mean? I think I've been placed in this position for a reason. Like I'm in this place where I could like go build a giant noose and then say treason. The punishment for treason is death, and like walk around DC with like dragging a noose down. Like I don't care. Like I think we need to make a scene, you know. And one that really gets to me is like the MK Ryan tries to sneak in, take a seat in the back, trips, farts. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Y'all got to do something about those squeaky chairs. Yeah, they're all they're steel like church chairs, so they they squeal when you move around. And Ryan's all trying to sneak in the back. Like, I wasn't late, I promise. Freya says we're basically a third world country now by design. 100%. I love me some Schlotzskis. Jay says, American culture has been on the decline since the 1950s. Actually, a controlled demolition from the social scientists who work for the cabal. Amen. Jay says, the most punk rock thing a person can do is be a conservative, mature, well-researched family man. That's what the establishment wants to destroy. Exactly. And I think that they've made it harder than ever for that to be a reality. You know, I'm a little crazy. I'm a little bit weird. I'm a bit of an edgelord, but probably not any more than the next guy. I've had a hard time with it ever since I changed my course in life, right? Like when I was a worldly dude, I had like any girlfriend all the time. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying it's like when I was a shit and a dirtbag, I seem to always have a girlfriend. But ever since I was like, no, I gotta live for something more. I gotta do something greater with my life. Like girls don't even talk to me now. But I think that at the same time, like the kind of person that I am and that you guys are like, we're just ahead of the pack. Like eventually everybody comes around and like recognizes the error of their ways. And then you can be like an entrenched freedom fighter who people recognize as like the early resistance. That's really what I'm trying to do here. It's not good enough to be like a political conservative anymore in America because political conservatives blow everybody up and sell all of our tax money overseas to different various countries. just like anybody else, right? And so I think that we need to figure out how to be more than conservative. And I don't just mean money, I mean society and culture. If we could just go do our own thing, I'd be all about it. I have a video called Exodus 2 where I talk about the idea that we're all like living in a prison and we just got to get a boat and get out of here. And like, it was like a passionate rant of a time a year or so ago. Not like a long time ago, but just where I was still kind of coming to the realization of how serious this is. It must have been more than a year ago now, but when I made that video, I just was kind of like, why don't we just leave? And I kind of understand that to leave is to resign. Like, this is our home. Like, we were all born here. You know, whoever you are, wherever you are. America, the West, Europe. All of these places are where our ancestors made their homes and where they fought and bled and sweat and cried and everything they did to make a future for those people that are the descendants, those people that are us. Regardless of what happened with, like, orphan trains and resets and all that weird, crazy stuff that may have happened to humanity. At the end of the day, like, all of us are here because people who came before us sacrificed a lot for us to get here. And I'm not trying to take away from everything that you guys have worked for in your life or that you've sacrificed. I don't think you guys are the example. I think you guys are kind of like sitting here all battered next to me in this trench like, man, what have we been doing all our lives? Yeah, we've made our share of mistakes. Some of us have a better reputation than others. Some of us have spent more time in darkness than others. But at the end of the day, we've all kind of arrived at this place of understanding and this desire for the truth, for healing in the world. And I feel like I want healing more than anything. But I think that we have to be ready for like a fight. I think it's time for that cat o' nine tails to come out. I think about that character of Christ who came into the temple and was like, this is, you know, that's where we are. Like, it's one thing for you to be a weird cult in the bushes and we have to find you. You know what I mean? Like, I want to become a world where the cult is them. They need to be the outcasts, right? They need to be the minority group in the sense that people who have these dumb ideas about killing their own kids or about, you know, I'm not saying that you personally, I want to exterminate these foolish ideas that are born from Satan. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think that the best way we do that is by pushing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've got to try to make an actual impact. I'm not telling you guys to do anything. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of where I'm at. Is I'm thinking, like, you know, rowing my own boat it's just not enough. Maybe I'm just in a special position where I have very little to lose. Looks like Ezra is just coming in. What's happening, Ezra? Good to see you. What's crazy is they let them chop. They let them have chop. You think they'd let us have our own mini country? Oh, I see what you're saying. Like the little occupied protest places. Yeah, that was crazy. Where they like took over multiple city blocks and even like federal buildings. And like, of course they wasted it, right? They were just using drugs and breaking stuff. What a waste, right? Like, if my side got a hold of the government building, we would not let go. Like, no, we're legislating now. We have the Constitution, the consent of the governed. You know what I mean? Like, and so I would totally say, like, it would be a different story if our side got the levers of power. That's why they don't want us leaving comments on YouTube and communicating and creating networks and all that cool stuff that we do. Oh, Ezra, you're not late. You're just early for tomorrow. No, there's no show tomorrow, but, you know, you never know. Yeah, I totally get it, though. Some of you guys, I forget this sometimes, like, I'm on, like, the latest time zone out in the West Coast USA. Like, unless you're in Japan or something, Hawaii. I mean, everybody else is like, it's like a 9 o'clock at night for everybody else. Or if you're in the UK, it's like, it's tomorrow. So, you know, some of you guys are from the UK. A lot of you guys are from, you know, Europe and UK because of Paul. At least those of you guys who come in later anyway and see these streams. A lot of you guys who tune in later are my Euro people. And I guess that's kind of another demographic, like another group of people who have kind of lost their homeland, right? I mentioned it, but United States and Europe are both territories that are part of an overall territory that I think are kind of, you know, as people who believe in like little season type stuff, I think it kind of justifies itself, right? Like, we have this area of the world that Satan has a managerial role in at this time. Like, I don't think it's for very long. I can't say when it would end, but I don't know. I know people would say like, well, aren't we supposed to just wait on the Lord? And I agree with that. But I also feel like we got to do our part. And I see a lot of people who are like activists and they have like organizations and they have like lobby groups and stuff. MK Ryan says, if you and Paul did a weekly show, I'd be about it. Yeah, I'd be down to do it. Like, Paul's a really cool guy. You know, I really get a lot of inspiration from the things he's talking about. I remember when I first discovered his channel, I felt like I was like, dude, this guy is preaching from my own heart, man. Everything he says, all of his ideas, I just vibe with, just resonate. And I think it's because it's not to say that I'm divine, but I think he's divinely inspired. And then I hear stuff and I'm like, man, that sounds like something that sounds right to me, you know? That'd be cool. You know, if we could maybe, I don't know, maybe I got to do something. I think I got to do some publicity stunts. I know that sounds dumb, but I mean like, but not for publicity, but you can gain publicity by doing things, right? Like one of the things I've been thinking about doing is like getting involved in actual political action. Like I'm not talking about becoming a politician. I'm talking about like, oh, they're doing a rally over here at the whatever, and then just go down there and just talk to people, you know, and say, especially on the conservative side, and ask people questions and be like, you know, would you guys like, I don't know, would you guys be considering like, do you guys think it's okay that prison is the solution for the kind of evil these people are committing? Or and then there's the moral implication, like, well, who should we say who lives and dies or whatever? That's a different talk, but like, what about the cost, right? Like fiscally, like if you can separate yourself from the moral part, because at the end of the day, it's like, who decides who lives and dies? Not the judicial system. You know what I mean? It's not really you. You know, and I'm not saying I would trust the judicial system to do that at this time. I'm just saying that, like, we've got so many problems, right? I think that we have a lot of stuff to address, but I think that you start by establishing yourself as a group of people who have an identity that stands apart from what already exists. You know, we got to set the example by the way we live our life, and one of those is that I live in fear. I'll admit it. The fear ends today, or tomorrow, or yesterday. I don't know. What I mean is that I go around in life and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to make enemies with people. I've always been so concerned with being negative, creating negative energy, being critical and being negative and just not building anything. And I think that there's a way to channel all of this passion and all this desire to see the world change and channel it into something that can be built up. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this channel, with Cult of Con, is to get like my footing, to have like, to have met you guys and had interactions with you guys, to realize I'm not crazy. Like I thought for the longest time, like, no, I'm out of it, and everybody else is just, I'm gonna have to just sit here in the quiet, in the dark, just so that I can kind of get from one end to the next. And then you kind of realize it's like, no, dude, there's way more people in the world that think just like me or you. And it doesn't have to be esoteric and weird and conspiracy. That's like what we do for fun. I'm talking about day to day. Like, we got to figure out how we're going to make ends meet. It gets to the point where we're no longer, you know, proud of our life's work because you can't afford anything. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber or a McDonald's employee. You're all making the same money now. It's like we've fallen into this dystopia that we can't allow to go on any longer. And part of that is we've got to set an example. So I think in the near future, I'm going to start doing stunts. Let's keep that in mind. Like, I'm going to start like trying to make it some noise because I'm tired of it, you know? And I think I'm the kind of person where it's like, if I could just make one controversial thing happen, it would be over, because anytime anybody asks me what I think, I'm just going to say the most controversial thing and it'll just self-reciprocate, you know what I mean? They're going to be so mad at me that they'll just continue to let me speak. Like, that's what happens. You know, I don't want to be a big influencer. I want there to be somebody that they can point at and say, you know, somebody like Donald Trump is not extreme to ask for basic border security, because there's this other guy who thinks we need to have like a DMZ with machine gun towers and stuff. Like every 2 miles, a QRF of like a full Marine battalion ready to shoot on sight. 0. You know, a drone just flies in because you're not allowed in the DMZ. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because we've had a huge problem. There's like 30 million illegals in this country. Like, it's just, you know, I want sane to sound sane again instead of far right. Like, everything that everybody says that's normal is far right. And I'm over here and I'm like, that's not good enough at all. What am I? Am I like, have I come full circle? Am I a leftist now? What's wrong with me, you know? If I think, you know, like everyone's like, oh, the prison system, it's so full. Well, that's because there's so many people who should either be shipped away or sent screaming to hell. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't think I can be the nice guy anymore. I just don't think I can. My nature is to be kind and care for people, but I see people suffering and I care for them. I don't feel bad about what happens to a criminal. They made their choice. You know, people make mistakes. I get it. Sometimes you make mistakes you can't take back. Should we be like, you know, I just think we should play fair. We should elevate the value of human life, of unborn kids, of national origin, of, you know, what I mean is that we should be able to be alive and pursue our life and liberty and pursuit of happiness like the Constitution says, and we should really take nothing less than that as people. And that's not just here in the United States. We should be a country that gets our shit in check, and then we look over at the United Kingdom and we say, you know what, we're invading you. Your government's a piece of shit. We're invading you. And then the UK is like, and it's like, I don't know, President Conman said, if you don't stand down, I'm going to blow up your Capitol building. You know what I mean? Like, how far do we have to go to get it right? You know? I don't think I could be king. But I think I could be president. I could administrate, because there'd be a government like, whoa, you can't just fire a missile. That building is 400 years old. I'm like, okay. Well, in that case, wait till he's driving home. Get him on the interstate. You know? Freya says our kindness has been exploited 100%. It's one of the most frustrating things about it is I know that most of the people in the country are like loving people. Most people. It's not the majority who's out for crime and villainy and wretchedness. And all the people who have like far left delusional ideas are just hurt, sick people. They're like mentally ill. They need help. Like, they don't need to be beaten up or anything either. We just need to grab the lever with force. It's not about like, I'm not trying to hurt you, but if you get in the way, you're going to get hurt. It's like what happens if like, okay, you guys ever been in a situation where something was going, I think about it all the time. When I was a little kid, I was on the tire swing. And I don't remember who it was, but some adult family member grabbed the bundle of tire swing chains, like the 3 chains as they kind of meet in the top, and was whipping the tire swing around, and my fingers got pinched between the chains. And I can't, it's such a absolute tiny childhood memory. And it wasn't like crushing my hand, but my hand was just stuck and I couldn't do anything. And it's because, I mean, my hand did get hurt a little bit, but what I mean to say is that whoever this was, my uncle, my dad, whoever, they had this mission that needed force to happen. Grab and to get that tire swing moving. And my hand was in the way. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't look at whoever that adult figure is. I don't remember who it was at this point. I don't look at that situation as like that person, my uncle or my dad, whoever was trying to pinch my hand. I'd do anything to it. No, it's like, stuff happens in the pursuit of motion and action, because collateral stuff happens. I'm not saying that we should be like fine about it, but it's like we have good people in the world who are they don't have what it takes to go to war, and that's okay. But you got to support the troops. You know what I mean? Like, we've said yes and turned a blind eye to violence all over the world as Americans. Our country and our war machine has done violence all over the world, and we were okay with it. And maybe some violence needs to be done here, and we should be okay with it. The right people, the right enemy, they'll either step aside or they'll be mowed down, because the truth has to prevail. And I know that the Lord has a plan. Even Doctor Who says, don't resort to vengeance. Your anger to injustice is valuable, but channel it with love or Christ. Yeah. And it's good. See, this is something that Doctor Who and I talked about doing, which is kind of having like somebody to tell me not to freaking chill out. You're losing it, man. You're yelling. Because I start yelling, and then it's kind of like you lose the message unless you are the Austrian painter and they're already like ready to hear you yell at the podium. Then you can yell at the podium. But yeah, we do have to figure out how to do it in love. I think that if the justification is that we're protecting people from the effects of this industry of evil that goes on, it can be justified. Like, if you look at the Crusades in history, people have all kinds of stuff to say about it, but at the end of the day, people were motivated because they were being attacked by Muslim forces. Muslims were doing an incursion into the West and like destroying shipping and stealing and taking land and ransacking stuff, and so the Christians were like, we're not just going to sit here and let them do what they want. And they got serious, and there was a bunch of blood and battle, and Wendy and I talked about, I don't even know what the truth is about the Crusades. But as it's stated, You know, our ancestors in history have done this before. They've been picked on, prodded and attacked and abused and beaten and shot and stabbed and everything else. And our ancestors have patiently sat quietly over multiple timelines in history where we just were like trying not to be the villain. We didn't want to become them. We didn't want to be violent and, I like the yelling, you have to pound on your desk. I don't know if you missed it, but I did that earlier. I did pound on the desk really hard. My hand's okay. I didn't hit it that hard. This desk is nice because it's loud. It makes a boom, and it sounds like I'm like, maybe even the camera vibrates when I do it, so it's like super impassioned. Yeah, Wendy says, the Father says, vengeance is his. Yeah. But it's not about vengeance. It's about order, right? When God made humanity, he said, he made them both, man and woman. He made them both. And he said to them, go forth and have dominion over the earth, over the birds of the air and the fish of the sea and of the plants and of all that stuff, right? Dominion, that means have control. When I look at the world today, I don't think we're in control. I think the world is out of control. So I think we got to get it reined in. We've got to figure out how to be a people who say we have to do what needs to be done, but we also know where to draw the line to separate ourselves. You know what I mean? It's easier said than done. I'm the guy that sits at the table and says, I think we should do something about it. I think we should go to arms. Freya says they've created and weaponized the moral high ground like some suicide cult. See those speech screenshots from the Starkiller base in the later Star Wars? Are you talking about Kylo? Okay, hold on. I know about the Starkiller base, right? That's kind of like where they built a Death Star into the... it's General Hux. Today is the end of the Republic. The end of a regime that acquiesces to disorder. Yeah, see? But you know it, dude. Like, that's why they put that kind of character in as the bad guy in every movie. Everybody was like, I will bring order to a galaxy of chaos. Like, that you're the bad guy. You're absolutely Hitler. You know what I mean? Why? Oh, they even say it here. Let me pull it so you guys aren't like, I'll let you in on it. Okay, he's got it. Today's the end of the Republic. The fierce machine which you have built, upon which we stand, will bring an end to the Senate, to their cherished fleet. All remaining systems will bow to the cult of Khan and will remember this as the last day of the Republic. Anyway, some say that Hux's speech is similar to Adolf Hitler's speeches in the way that Hux shouts words and emphasizes them. So like one guy's an eloquent public speaker and all of a sudden it's a bad thing to be an impassioned public speaker. All of a sudden now it's bad. That's so funny, dude. Jay says, I think non-compliance is the only way to fight back. We can't resort to violence unless we're in self-defense, protecting our family. 100%. I agree with you 100%, Jay. I think that what we need to do is we need to figure out how to use force without violence. Because I know that like it's kind of hard to I know you can probably imagine the concept, but like how do we find a way to advertise that we won't back down, but we're not going to like attack people? Like we can simply just unplug. Like it doesn't have to be a violent action. We have the majority of people. We have the moral and legal high ground. You know what I mean? It's actually not that big of a deal when we look at it like on paper. The preamble to the Constitution of the United States talks about abuses and usurpations, which are the kinds of things that are provable in our current government. The language chosen by the Founding Fathers paints the current system in America as the exact thing that we are not to allow to happen. And we have mechanisms to undo it. It's just that we have to be able to get enough people to simultaneously agree on the principles, and it would be hard if you didn't know, but we already have a constitution. Like at the very least, that is something that, because it uses the rights enshrined to humanity by God, right? Like it's not like it's a human document. Even though it's written by men, comprised by men, we talk about all this is just to tell us that we acknowledge that God made us and gave us these rights. And if we look at our life today and we look at anywhere in the world where our rights given to us by God are being usurped by our own government, by private organizations, by corporations, or by governments in other lands. Our people of Earth are sovereign. The human race is sovereign. We shouldn't be allowing anybody. So how do we become forceful without becoming violent? That's a great question. I'm not sure. Pineal Wasteland says, I've always felt like it was going to come to proper violence eventually. Well, the problem is, right, if we use force and we bow up against these people, they will use violence against us. It's one of the reasons why I've been so kind of I guess you could say, no, I haven't been at the podium screaming for the last 10 years because I don't, I've already experienced violence at the behest of someone who disagreed with me, and I didn't even do anything to them. I was just simply in another band, and it's not like that's normal, but you know what I mean? We're dealing with a faction of lowlifes with no morals. They're the kind of people who stab you in the back and think it's victory. It's not the kind of enemy that'll meet you on a battlefield face to face and fight you. They're wretched people. It's a faction of pure evil. These are the underlings of Satan working in our society and in various forms of government. And so it's difficult because it's like, how can we fight them how can we be on the moral high ground when they're cheaters? You can't play fair against someone who won't play by the rules. It starts to make me wonder, like, what's the solution, I know that we could probably say, the Constitution is absolute, we are going to enforce it, and we could get a movement behind that. What you need is probably someone with a military background who people will trust. A goon edgelord on the internet isn't going to get anybody riled up unless I was like, I'd have to be like inspirational. I'd have to be like, people have to try to kill me before they'll believe what I'm trying to do. So, but maybe you get somebody who's, anything you do will be portrayed as a fearerist. Yeah, Dr. Who's right. So, it's what we have to do is we have to create like an awareness movement, right? We need to be able to establish what we think and then just don't move from it. It doesn't have to be like an invasion or a counterattack, which is what they want to make it out to be. Like, you look at an event like January 6th, whether or not that event is real or orchestrated or what percentage of it is real or what, it doesn't matter. You see this as like an act, it's like an attack, right? That's how they call it. It's like an attack on our capital. It's the the same results. I'm not saying that you should do that kind of thing. The same results, though, can be achieved by surrounding the capital. You know what I mean? Like, that's where, when I say you use force but not violence, like, what's to say that you don't just get in the way? You know what I mean? I think that has proven very effective in history. Just refusing to move. Now, that's hard because I know everybody has jobs and kids and stuff. But the question is, like, how far will we go before we decide that we don't have any other choice but to react? You know what I mean? Like, at some point they say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's like, that's the last straw. But, like, what is the last straw, right? Like, if we wait long enough for the last straw, then we don't have the means to resist them. Right now, we have everything right now. Wendy says patriotism is another religion. I agree, but I'm not necessarily like advocating for patriotism. I think I'm advocating towards like human freedom, right? Like these rights, the God-given rights, human rights, like true human rights activism. And it's any time that you look at a policy that's in place in our world, what is it that makes a district attorney or a judge have the authority to let a criminal go? A criminal who's not even from our country. That's not even about like how we feel. It's just like the rules aren't being followed. What do we do to make sure those people follow the rules? Because I don't care if it's your opinion. It's like if somebody murders somebody, they're supposed to be charged and imprisoned and dealt with legally for it. You can't just say, oh, well, when he comes back, when you feel like it, come on back and we'll run a trial for you for that guy you killed. That's the kind of justice system happening in America, in California, even in my state, up here in Washington. Wendy's right. It's a fine line. We have to establish this stuff for sure. We have to become the kind of people who really know what we think, what we believe, and how we're going to be. But I think that's I would rather be zealous and be like people that need to chill out. And we be encouraging each other, guys, wait, I don't know if that's the right thing. Like how Wendy's saying, like we need to be careful to not be, falling into another religion or becoming like violent or whatever. But also we need to be able to have like an identity. That's why when I talk about like the Christ supremacist thing, it's like if we could all just understand what isn't acceptable and just put an end to that, we don't have to fight about every little nitty-gritty thing, every little semantic thing that we can argue about, because people have the right to choose, If we try to take away people's right to choose, then we're no better than Satan. Satan's trying to make it so that you have no choice but to follow his system. He's built this world that's like impossibly uphill for you if you want to do the right thing. It's easy to do the wrong thing. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, oh yeah, you can get like 10 girlfriends if you just act like a dirtbag, participate in bad activities and treat people poorly. For some reason, they like you. But all of a sudden you start being kind to people and caring about people and you're invisible. You know, it's on purpose. That's the world we live in. We're not trained to look for people that have moral values. We're trained to elevate leaders who are like people with golden toilets and shit. The best among us is a guy who spent billions of dollars enriching himself. And now he's had to stay. And now he's so altruistic because he's had to leave behind all of his riches. I was just having so much fun, and now I have to stop having fun to save you. See how good I am? You know, it's just that to me isn't it, guys. Like, I want us to be a people who look and say, look, at least a little bit better than that. You know? Like, I can't tell you exactly how to do it, but maybe he could have surprised us. You know, believe it or not, I actually sold all of my properties. I felt that it was disgusting to contain billions of dollars but not do anything. You know what I mean? I don't know, dude. I just don't know how you could have billions and not do something. Because if I had billions, this shit would be over, dude. I mean, it'd be over. We'd have our free speech network. Like, we'd be doing the speakeasy. We'd be putting out movies and video games and media that was all wholesome and not woke. And I'd be doing stuff, man. Maybe one day we'll get there. You know, many are the plans in man's heart, but it's the will of the Lord that will prevail, as the scriptures say. I hope that it's the Lord's will for us to start changing the world. I don't think that it's something that we'll do overnight, but I know that you guys agree. And I think that we're not alone in the sense that, like, what are the most popular ideas? Like, we may be some weird conspiracy theorists out on a limb at this point about most of the weird things we believe in, but the basic stuff, you know, about human dignity and opportunity and, like, right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, we all agree on that. I don't think there's any question in anybody's mind. So, when it comes to stuff like what are we going to do with our future, I don't exactly know, but this is where it starts. Conversations. Talking about things we're not supposed to talk about, as usual. Jay Verkamp says, the problem is we can't organize ourselves. Once we try to make a movement, there will be 10 feds infiltrating the group. Yeah, and it's the downside of it, right? Because they have these people infiltrate and then act bad and make you look bad. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how to employ the same kind of power structure that they've done. Let's replicate the systems that they've created, because I can tell you that I've seen in my lifetime probably multiple dozen high-level Catholic priests and bishops who have been convicted of child sex crimes. They have the robe on, they have the staff, they have the hat, they have the title, they have 40 years of service in the diocese. And then they rape kids and they're arrested and imprisoned, and yet the church just continues. Somehow the Catholic Church is just still operational. And so that tells me we can do that too. Not rape kids. Don't get me wrong. We can have an organization that is above reproach, is what I mean to say. No one in the Catholic faith thinks it's okay to commit sex crimes, or at least they don't claim that it's okay. Even their own doctrines don't say so. So if a priest goes and does a crime against kids, they say, he's not one of us, and somehow that's okay. So we just need to figure out how we're going to become a nameless, faceless thing. It could even have a name. I don't know. That's what this is about, right? We're figuring it out. A movement that you're welcome to join, but you only get credit for what you do that's good. You know what I mean? Like, how do we put together a group that Doctor is like, dude, that was a bad one. How do you make a group that you can only be counted for what you do that contributes? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it. Let's say we're doing like a fundraiser. Everybody who donates to the fundraiser helped the cause. But if you didn't donate to the fundraiser, you didn't do shit. Like, you didn't make it happen. You didn't contribute, so we don't consider you part of the donors, right? So how do we get donations of energy, donations of action, donations of force, donations of thought and belief and idea and all these things? How do we put this energy in and only count for the energy that goes in? Wendy says it's called you don't work, you don't eat. Well, we certainly have to. Yeah, I mean, that's actually perfect, right? If what you do is not adding to what we're doing, then you're not part of our group. Ezra says, I think one trick is to make it ambiguous as to who started it. Taken from Buddhism, actually, when they would ask, who is your master? Ho Shang, when in reality there was no Ho Shang. It becomes faceless. Wow, that sounds so cool. That sounds really cool. Like there could be a guy who's like the guy, but nobody knows who it is. Like the leader of the movement. And, well, okay. It's just now we're getting somewhere, right? There is a guy, right? We just have to be careful because you can't be like, he's our guy, and then do whatever you want. Because you don't want to misrepresent Christ because he'll put you out of business quick. And I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It is true that people have become so shallow and fickle in the way that we view each other. The illusion of choice, the grass is always greener. We look at each other as these replaceable entities. People go on dating sites and they just swipe, swipe, swipe. And it's like if your swipe was someone's fate, like whether they would be loved or whether they would fall into an infinite abyss, people don't even just show. I'm gonna never look at you again, never look at you again, never look at you. Not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And it's just like, yo, what's wrong with people? We have to get out of the spell, dude. We have to break the mind control in people, because we have to get to where we look at people as valuable, right? That's what I was saying earlier. Maybe this is the message, right? All people matter, even though it's like, we got to find a way to package it that's not stupid and leftist. I mean, like, how can we like become people that like just know the right thing to do, right? Because for a while America was like that. Everybody just kind of did the right thing. Yeah, there was criminals, but most other people, 99% of people are not criminals even today. But it seems like the normal average person has fallen quite a bit from like what they think is morally reprehensible and what they think is acceptable. It starts with the value of human life. And this comes back to like everything I always talk about, which is like God's original intent, the original purpose for humanity and like what everyone's doing here, It wasn't all that long ago that the world was a much more exploratory place and people had a lot of questions, and it was like the question on everyone's mind, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of being here? What are we doing here? Where are we going when we die? I think this generation just stopped asking those questions. We got to figure out how to get this question back in the minds of normal people. It's like, look at how bad everything is. Yes, I know. And there's a lot of people that talk about it. I don't want to be the same guy who's always like harping on, look at the economy, look at these numbers. Man, kids can't afford anything. You can't buy a house. You'll never own a home. The car interest rates are 20% or whatever. I was like, we know all that. But how do we get out of it? You know what I mean? I think that if anybody could sit here and say, like myself or anybody could sit here and say, these are the steps we're taking to change it, to make it happen. If somebody could start doing that, I think people could get behind it. I know that one way that you can do things is you can begin to kind of like ruffle the feathers, right? There's all these other groups that like come out in public. Like one that always comes to mind is the Black Hebrew Israelites. And they put on like these shawls, and they have like sigils and stuff on them. And they'll stand there on the corner and like yell. They'll sit out there with like 4 or 5 guys in shawls. They're reading from some, I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's scripture, but sometimes it's the ramblings of a seriously deranged individual. And they just shove it down your throat. Now, I'm not saying we should be street preachers, but I'm just saying the boldness of those people, they don't care. They're not afraid someone's going to come up and attack them. Yeah, they're insulated by a system. I mean, imagine if not saying you, but imagine if somebody did that, right? How they would treat that guy with the justice system who assaulted a black dude preaching about Black Hebrew Israelite faith or whatever. They would hate crime you so hard for that. What do they charge the guy who punches a street preacher? Like, what charges does he get, if anything? We can see that the system's not working, so all I want is for equal application. I want the law to work. I want the Constitution to be applied in the country. Otherwise, I don't want people to pretend like it's the law. You always hear about people in politics yelling about our democracy. It's like, it's not a democracy, shut up. We have to become a people that are collectively aware of that. Even like Jay was saying, like, and Ezra about the facelessness. Maybe we don't need a face because we have a document. I know that, like Wendy was saying, patriotism's a religion too, and I totally agree. I don't think America's perfect at all, but I don't think we've ever really achieved the kind of system that Constitution entails. Like, if we really had a system that supported those rights, I think most people would find themselves much more left alone by the government. We'd be a lot more independent. Not just free, but like, what's the IRS for? What's the DEA for? What's the ATF for? None of that stuff matters. If you have a drug problem, your sheriff can deal with it. If you have a gun problem, the sheriff and SWAT team can deal with it. You know, it's like we are not people that are incapable of taking care of ourselves, but we've become like the nanny state. And the problem is the nanny is Satan. So you've got this demonic, satanic beast system, as Adrian said here. And then it's reinforced by all of these like government entities and stuff that they created that we don't need. We don't need an ATF. They're just there to obstruct everybody. They make up some dumb law about guns and it shouldn't be legal, but then they have this weird non-government organization to enforce it on you. If you start drilling out pipes and threading the end of it, oh, you're making suppressors. We're going to kill you. It's crazy. We have that document, but we also have a plaque with a poem written by a redacted on the Statue of the Statue of Liberty. Jay says, cue Fran nasal laughter. Was that me? Oh, shoot. Doing things that don't require gathering in large groups, says Jay. Doing things we can all do quietly throughout our day-to-day lives. Small signs of non-compliance that become huge when enough people do it. Another thing I think is that we can sponsor movements. What I mean is that like we can support stuff and ideas and people without having it be like a movement, you know. This guy Gavin McInnes did this thing like the Proud Boys, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. And it was just like a joke, but then people started like putting on shirts and then showing up and fighting people and stuff. And as soon as you have like a shirt and you're fighting people, then they've got a thing they can call a terror organization. What I'm getting at is that like, how do we, maybe I'll set an example by doing it. You got to live the example, right? I'm thinking about creating a series of videos where, you know, it's almost like rage bait. You know, you see a lot of people get a lot of clout on the internet for going around and bothering people. And I'm not saying I'm going to do that. But what I mean is that people really don't like it when someone's like going around with their stupid stream and like harassing innocent people. That's unacceptable behavior. Leave people alone. However, this country is full of dirtbags that are like in the public eye. They're not even hiding. They're like in your thing and they like pass terrible, evil laws and they propose ballot measures that are ridiculous. And it's like, I remember a few years ago, it was like, I think it was Maxine Waters, that just terrible old lady. And she was like, when you see them at the grocery store or at the gasoline station, and she was like talking about don't let people go around thinking that everything's just fine. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to become the kind of people. I do it at the gas station all the time. When I'm filling up my gas, I just sometimes will say something about how the gas prices, it's robbery, the government taxation is theft, and like I'll just yell stuff like that because other people in public who agree with you are like, oh cool, I'm not the only one. And it's other things. It's like I was at this same gas station actually because it's my Safeway over here a couple of years ago or a year or two ago. And there was this minivan that was parked there at the gas station like it was a ploy. And there was this lady and her daughter that were there. And they were some kind of like Armenians or something in there. The dad was in a truck parked in the parking lot, like not that far away, looking over. So he has these girls, his wife and his little daughter, basically looking for guys like me and my brother to shake us down to buy gas for the van. Because they're poor? No, because that guy doesn't want to pay for gas. So you go over there and you suck off the last of the community, drain what's left of good Samaritan nature in people and get them to buy your gas because, you know, oh, sad lady and little girl over here, they have nowhere to go. And it's like that kind of shit is so unacceptable. That guy should have been drugged out of that truck and clubbed. We need to be a culture that's like, you know, what the hell? Like, I think that there should be so many, like, prostitution should be so illegal, it's not even funny. The idea that there's a guy who's like, I'm a pimp, and, like, chicks are out there selling their bodies so that you can get money? There's a reason certain knots exist. Like, there are ways to tie ropes for a reason. Ezra says, another... Oh boy, let me back up a little bit. Okay, MK Ryan says, liberty, telling other countries to send us their trash. Ezra says, another actual practical thing I've thought about is collective prayer that's concentrated at a set time every day. We can all pray at the same time daily to counteract any practiced witchcraft in certain geographic areas. That has to be huge. Because, you know, the Bible says whenever two or more are gathered in my name, that he's there with us. And we don't have to be in the same area. If anything, if we're doing it synchronized, but in different areas, it's almost like we have a bigger web of influence. Like, well, the Lord will just have to be present with us in many places at once. We're definitely fighting an energy battle here. It's an energy war. You know, like a couple of you guys were mentioning, I think, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it was like vampires, right? 2020 election, I was so hopeful, and then I was so drained by it. Like, my spirit, my soul, even my body was tired from it. And I know that a lot of times, like, energy has to be, that's what we're fighting over here. Whatever energy, good, bad, or positive, negative, or lack thereof, there's an energy war taking place here. And I think that what Ezra is saying is a huge thing. If we can start contributing positive energy, that's, I think, what I'm trying to get to in my roundabout, ranting, angry, passion, whatever type kind of way. That I think that you guys are all like, you know, you're just absolutely vital to my own ability to process what I think. Because I'm very impassioned, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I just see a problem and I'm just like, ah! But we are not powerless. Like, we are citizens of a divine kingdom. Like, the Lord has everything we need stored up for us. If it's his will, we can do absolutely anything. I just think that it has to start with us being willing to do something. We're all... I mean, I can't speak for all of you, but generally the public is kind of beaten down. They're afraid. Nobody wants to get debanked or fired from their job. And like I said, a lot of you guys have way more to lose than me. I have nothing but like a 20-year-old car. I have no debts, you know, but I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have a house. I don't have shit. So it's like, you can't take anything from me but my body, and I don't care. I hate it here. You know what I mean? Kill me, then! Kill me! So basically, just what I'm getting at is just, I'm not the only one. There's a ton of young guys out here who don't have anything to lose, and I feel bad for them. I'm okay. I'm actually really good. I'm like riding the wave on the Holy Spirit is working in my life, and I'm so blessed to have such a great community with you guys and everything. But there are so many young guys like me, but not me, who are like in the same boat, who don't know, like, what are we doing? Like, they need their mission. And I think this is our mission. It doesn't even matter. When I say young guys, I just mean I know they're out there. But there's all kinds of people in every walk of life who want a mission. They're ready for a mission. And the mission isn't to go overseas and share the gospel anymore. Not to say that that's not important, but our fight is here. The mission field is right here in the United States. And the mission is not just to spread the gospel, which it is. But our mission is to have dominion, the original mission. And I got to figure out how we're going to do that again. How we're going to slowly rise from the depths of this disaster and become a people of victory, like our King. You know, because that's he didn't give us a spirit of fear. You know? And I've been afraid for a long time, afraid of what people will think, afraid of what people will do. And I'm just like, I'm good with it, man. I think it's time that we identify how this enemy is working in our lives, and then we begin working against it, even if all we do is just start pushing a little bit at a time. I think that our willingness to push, and if we give our hearts to the Lord and ask, he'll show us what to do. I know that he wants to use us for good things. And those good things might include some crazy times that we may have to go through. But, you know, our brothers and sisters in Christ who've come before us in history have done crazy things. They fought through the great wars. They fought through the Civil War. They fought Korea and Vietnam and Afghanistan. And people have fought domestic battles. People have fought personal battles of sin. People have overcome a lot. People just like me and you in previous generations, and even in this generation. And I think that it's part of our gift, a part of our blessing of being made to rule this place. God made us to have dominion, so it's in our nature. And I think we spent too much time sitting back and letting other people be in charge. And that's how we got to where we are. So I think my mission is that we figure out how to become dominion people again, kingdom type people, so that we can actually change the world for the better. And I know that there's some way that we can apply that. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something that we'll do, something that we can do. This community can do it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to go back over here and check with you guys. Jay says, oh, actually I read this one already. Oh no, here we go. Small signs of non-compliance that can become huge when enough people do it. That's what Jay's talking about. Yep. Little things. It starts with the acknowledgement that this is a broken world and things got to change. Something's got to give. I think a lot of people know that by now. We're close. All right, let's see. Oh boy, chat is crazy tonight. Thanks for being here, everybody, really. It's awesome to have you all here. I didn't have anything planned tonight, so just having you guys here makes it so easy because you guys have so much to say, so many good things to add. Pineal Wasteland says, you have to start with young people. 100%. It is where the kids are the future, you know. Ezra says, because one thing we don't know is how much of this horrible stuff is being caused by active witches. No, I 100% agree with you. Like, we should actually try and figure out what, like, maybe that would be a cool app to make, right? Or like a website or something where it has like scheduled events and it says what the event is, and it could even give you like a prompt, and it's like a battle plan, like I don't know how you would describe it, like a war room, you know, with like the boards, and it shows like the troop movements or whatever. And it could be like, you know, Friday, 2 p.m. UDT or whatever. So everybody, and then if whatever your time zone, and it tells you what your time zone is, and it's like, when we reach this time, for 5 minutes, we'll be praying these things against the enemy. And it's like, if we could start like, because they can't get mad at you for that. You know what I mean? They can't shut that down. Oh, this is prayer wars. Yeah, go to prayerwars.com and let us know. We're fighting against the devil every day. You know what I mean? That sounds really cool. Like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, Ezra. I think that's so cool. That could do something for real. Like, when I'm talking about what are we going to do, we got to do something that's real. That's actionable. And that takes the power away from like a guy with a bat or a gun, and it puts it totally in the hands of the Lord. You're like, Lord, what are we supposed to do? Go beat them? Only you can solve this, God, because otherwise we're going to have to get all bloody, and that's not what you told us to do. Unless you specifically tell me to buy the flak and charge in head first, I can't justify that. But what you guys are talking about, like a prayer war thing, that sounds really big. Dr. Hugh says, my dad called it the hammers, where you go around smashing things, not people. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. Like, you know, I've experienced this. I've never wanted to put a political bumper sticker on my car because the other side, the extreme side, like stabs your tire and breaks your window. I'm not saying that we should smash tires and break windows. It's just that we've got to even the playing field somehow. We either need to make it that like a political attack is the worst thing ever in your life, is upturned and destroyed for committing political crimes against somebody, or we just say, no, you guys wanted it, cat's out of the bag, and like every car with a Harris sticker in the country smashed in the night of bats and Molotovs. You know, it's like, that's it. Like, you have to decide what kind of what civilization are we gonna be. That's our big problem. We have to decide, are we going to be people that like hold everyone to a higher standard, or is it a dang free-for-all? Because like, I can play on both of those. I don't want to, but you know, it's like I always have this argument with people who are, I guess you could say, like, not pro-life. And the issue comes from the fact that if we don't have a standard that all life is sovereign and all life begins in the very beginning, and we don't question, we don't make it specific, we umbrella all life as sacred. Because if you don't, then it's a pick and choose, like, semantics, where it's like, well, this life's sacred because of this, but that one's not because of this technicality. And it's like, you don't want to live in a world with random technicalities, because then I decide that I don't agree with you, and I don't think your life is valid. Because my technicality is that, yeah, life is valid as long as you have a moral score of 42.68%, which is calculated on the whatever complex, and because you believe in this ideology, and actually counts as a minus 24.9%, which actually puts you below the threshold, so I kill you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't live like that. I try to argue with people. It's like, you guys, you can't do it. Please stop trying to get away, to do away with morality, because if you make me into a villain, I have no choice but to destroy you. And I'm trying to make peace. Freya says the last election was an obvious coup. Right in our faces, that troll job proved to me that voting is pointless. 100%. Think about how much energy they get out of us. Everyone's hopes and dreams and aspirations, making plans based on the election, like, if Trump wins, we'll open up that new store down there on whatever. If not, we'll probably have to hold off because, the rates are going up these days. Like, what kind of a world is that where everything we do is like based on this charade that you put paper in the box and now all of a sudden you're important? They didn't think you were important when they took your money when you couldn't afford your bills. They taxed you anyway. You were below the poverty line, but they taxed you anyway. Oh, your house was robbed by a crazy person? Someone who's not even from your country? Oh, well, we let him go. Oh, they killed your dad? They killed your brother in a car wreck as they were running from the cops because they're on another long crime thing? And well, we let him go. You don't matter, except when it's time to put paper in the box. Now all of a sudden, your sacred right to vote. Get out and vote. Do your thing. And it's like, dude, I'm not falling for that shit anymore. And the people that want to do it think, I'm in it? I can do that, and so it gets done. Oh, I think I'm confused about what I'm looking at here. Sorry, Ezra. Wendy says, Father raises kings and lower them. They are used for judgment or blessings. Amen. I hope that the Father raises some good kings in the near future here. Dr. Who says, pondering an idea we make. Oh, shoot, where'd it go? Okay. Network where we associate our location with our nearest peak/mountain. Have a local news network of free thinkers. Oh, like we're like, maybe like mountains, like we organize ourselves within the ranges of the mountains. That's not a horrible idea, especially since there's only so many mountains, so it'll bring people regionally kind of into areas. That could be a cool thing. Freya says, promiscuity and feminism has made many men single and childless and many, many women unhappy whores. Yes, we need the Lord. I don't want to get too far into it, Freya, but I will say that at the end of the day, men need to take responsibility for it because men have always been the heads of households and the leaders of civilization. And the only reason that things are out of whack now is because men relinquished their responsibility to patrol and control and do what was necessary. And I don't mean control like be an asshole. I just mean like there comes a time where a wolf's trying to bite the sheep and a man's supposed to be there to stop it. And instead, men have kind of like just left the door hanging open because they're like, not my job. And I know it. I understand because we like allowed all these rules to get put in where it's like if you try to get involved, you just get ransacked by the government. It's not easy. And then on top of that, you can't do anything to protect women from all of these systems like prostitution and OnlyFans and stuff like all the time. I'll tell you what, this is how I knew I was a Christian and I was saved is because I see chicks like on social media doing OnlyFans and they're like pretty hot and like mostly nude and it like makes me sad, dude. Like that's a different mind. That's a different mind than I ever had. That shit does not turn me on. It makes me sad. But that's somebody's like daughter. And that's like supposed to be some guy's wife. Like imagine like you see this girl and it's like, oh, so pretty. Yeah, that's supposed to be your honeymoon. That's supposed to be wedding night. Like everything that you hoped for, like everything you're working for to provide for this chick. And like, oh, there's the special thing. And it's like, $3 OnlyFans. Coming right up, you know what I mean? That's tragedy, dude. That's more tragic. I can't even really think of a bigger tragedy than all these lovely young ladies who are throwing away like this window of their life. Not to say that women aren't valuable. It's just to say that like you're not hot forever. So like that's special. That matters. And you should be able to like share that with someone important. You use that to secure the bag, right? You get your husband, you do the sexy time, he's all on the hook, and then he takes care of you. For better or for worse, right? Because eventually you're both old and smelly. You know what I mean? Like, well, we're losing that. I get it. Young men don't want to work. They don't want to be a big career guy. Because why? What's the reward? You can't even get a family out of it anymore. They've turned it so bad. They've turned us against each other so bad. It's so artificial, man. I know there's still hope for some people. I think there's hope for me. I'm a stud. But at the end of the day, it's like we've got to fix our system. We've got to fix this thing for everybody because not everybody's going to win on their own. Not everybody has the resiliency to fight against this and still become successful. We have to work together for the sake of each other for our future generations. for the sovereignty of human life. Freya says, you're great at passionate rants. Thanks for sharing your insights. Thank you for appreciating me, Freya. When I was younger, I always really irritated people with my like endless, like, I think we should la la la. But I've just started to realize, okay, you can't make everybody like you. You can only be true to yourself. That's the best thing you can do. MK Ryan says, I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time so that my children can live in peace. Thomas Paine. That's an incredibly great quote. I think that's the kind of stoic kind of mindset that we, at least as the men of the group. I know that you women are incredible people. It's like you guys are more than what you would expect in our current civilization. But, you know, men, we're always kind of the same. No matter how rough shit gets, we're always like playing with trucks in the grass. You know what I mean? What I mean to say is that, like, if we men can get our shit straight, then we can make it safe for women to have their shit straight. You know what I mean? Our system is like punitive. It punishes people for trying to be right, trying to be upright and think right. And the feminism thing has like totally taken away the support systems of women. You know, women who want to be housewives are not encouraged to be. Women who want to be mothers are not encouraged to be. Women who are trying to be honorable to their husband, they're not encouraged to do any of those things. You know, young men, we still have each other at the end of the day. All men. I worked with guys older and younger than me, and it's like something about men is like once you're in the foxhole, it doesn't matter. We're lucky in that way. But in nature, women kind of have a competition. So if there isn't like a support network, women really feel that. And I feel for you ladies in this day and age. Like, we got all these YouTube channels of red pill guys who are all mad about how chicks have treated dudes in the modern age, but they're all unified together. All these young men are all like, well, we'll just play Call of Duty then. And they're doing it. It's not bringing about children. It's not bringing about masculine, you know, world-changing men, but they're surviving. They're okay. I feel bad for the girls because they're like stumbling out into this world of, you know, you're 18, 19, 20. There's all these like freak 45-year-old dudes buying your OnlyFans and like weirdos like trying to kill you. This is not how it would be if I was in charge. Freya says, I think Trump was brought in to pull a particular scam because trust the plan, and most did. Like Trump's creepy vid a few months before COVID where he says, this is the calm before the storm. He's one of them. Freya says, agreed con about our men. The white Sharia meme always hurt me for that reason. Where are our brave, strong men? They're definitely here, too. That's the thing. There are tons of bold, strong, confident, intelligent men. It's just that men have learned that it's easier to just keep your head down. You know, if you stick up, you get pounded. And I know that feeling because I've experienced like a subtle, minor version of it. Like not necessarily. I've never stood up for anything serious. Maybe that's why I'm craving it so much. Doctor Who says, they're using it while they have it. If you're an independent woman, according to the system. Yeah, I totally agree. It's women are encouraged because it's really easy, right? Like if you're a chick right now, you can make a ton of money. Like you can make stupid money. My R129 that I wish, if I had an OnlyFans girlfriend, she'd probably buy it for me. It's not that big of a deal. 20 grand, whatever. I make that in like a month. She's probably got 150 grand sitting in the bank account. She could buy me an R129. She could get big wheels for it and a custom exhaust that I want. Thank you. But then what? You know what I mean? What kind of a relationship is that? Ezra says, I suspect Trump as well because of this bullshit red versus blue dichotomy that's never been more functional since he arrived. It wouldn't work as well if the candidate was someone less or less polarizing. Yeah, and I agree. Or imagine if he was more polarizing. Like it wouldn't work if it was like liberal democracy or like Christian fascism. Like imagine if there was a candidate that was actually advocating for like, no, we want a Christian monarchical order. We don't want other religions. We don't want foreigners. You know what I mean? Like if that was actually a political movement, I think you'd see that succeed. That's the scary part. That's why someone like Trump exists, because we're all taught that we have all these problems. Look at how crazy these blue hairs and woke people are ruining everything. We have to stop them. What's the answer? WWF guy. Like it's like, oh yeah, that guy, you know, he's a reality TV show. Like I understand where the left wing kind of anti-Trump rhetoric comes from, because it's like, you know, at first it seemed cool, but now I really just want Trump to be over. It's like, who's going to be the next candidate? I want a guy who's like a veteran. I want a guy who like fought in warfare. I want a guy who knows the value of human life, who's seen his friends die for a useless fucking war for nothing. I want someone like that in control, so that then when these Congress people try to do their stupid shit, and you can be like, you know what? My friends fucking died in a war that all you people voted for, so you can shut the fuck up. That's what I think. Sorry about that. I get a little animated tonight, guys. I don't know what's going on. I'm metamorphosizing level 14. I don't know what'll happen at level 15. I might turn into some kind of a werebeast or something. I might change races or something. Hi, Escraw. Good to see ya. Better late than never. I'm glad you made it in. Ezra says, I haven't thought of that. This crazy suspicious hurricane in western North Carolina is showing us real men, and real women for that matter. There's hope. 100%. I think the interior of the country, I was actually going to say this earlier, the interior of the country is full of strong people. The military is full of strong people. Working class America, factories, UPS drivers, people laying pipes, people doing landscape, people working normal jobs, people mopping the floor at the sports arena. There are strong men everywhere. What men need more than anything is leadership. And if we can create a movement in a way, like if we can bring about a spirit of change, we don't need a man to stand there and take credit. You know what I mean? Like how you guys were saying the movement can be faceless. Like if people could just believe in something, if they just believed they could have it again, you know? It seems like we're so overwhelmed and like doomed, and the system's done such a great job of making us feel overwhelmed and overpowered and screwed. And that's one of the ways they keep us from like metamorphosizing into something different, because we think that we're stuck here. We don't have to stay like this forever. I think people are ready for change. I think change is upon us. And I think it's even the Lord's will. That's why things have gotten so crazy in the last few years. Ezra says, see, that would work. They wouldn't let a hardcore vet in there because he would talk about what he's been through and how it's going to waste. Yeah. It'd be really hard for a person who's like a veteran as president to be able to sign off on any kind of warmongering at all, because no one in our country has served in a real war since like World War II. And I'm not to take away from, I don't mean a real war, as in they saw combat. They went through the hell of war, but the purpose, the real reason, you know, war should be avoided at all cost. And then when you go, you win. You know what I mean? We should never fight, never fight, never fight. And then if we fight, we are going to destroy the enemy down to the last man. We're never fighting you again. That's how you do warfare. I think we'll get there. We'll become those kind of people. Guys, it's getting late. It's crazy late. I mean, it's not crazy late, but it's later than it usually is. So it's amazing how once you start talking about, you know, the stuff you're passionate about, you can just run your mouth for hours. My God, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Let's go ahead and find us an outro. You know what? Let's just open up another one from our same album, and we'll send it off. Guys, Jay is right. We need to meditate on Ezra's faceless process of change. There's a solution out there that we haven't thought of yet, and I know that the Lord will deliver it. I say we start our organized prayer. We'll have to figure out how to get that organized and set it up. So we'll do that. We'll also look into next week. We're going to be doing some call-ins. So I will post on the community page some instructions, and I will leave a top comment. I'll pin a comment in here in the next day, probably by tomorrow night. So before the weekend, there'll be a top comment on this pinned with some instructions on how you guys can figure out how to get in if you guys want to do call-in next week, since we're doing kind of a spooky cast Halloween-style thing. Obviously, we don't celebrate Halloween, but, you know, we're like Jehovah's Witnesses around here or something. Anyway, with that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys coming out here. Thanks again for being here. This has been the Main Character Podcast, level 14, right? Yeah, level 14. And with that being said, guys, let's go. All right, guys. Well, I'll see y'all on Sunday for the Sunday service at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. And with that being said, we'll see y'all next time. Take care, everybody.
At last alone, his fire's dying, burned another day. down.